Somewhere right now, there's a student asking an AI to explain a tough physics concept, instead of just cracking open their textbook. And across town, maybe a manager is typing a quick prompt to generate an email she totally used to write herself. Oh, and a parent? They're probably feeding a list of symptoms into a chatbot before even calling the doctor. And honestly, none of this feels dramatic or groundbreaking in the moment, does it? It just feels like quiet, everyday convenience. But here's the thing. Convenience is exactly how the absolute biggest shifts in human history have always arrived. Just quietly, one small decision at a time, completely restructuring how we live. So today, we're looking at a massive, unseen shift in human thought that is taking place right under our noses.
We spend so much time debating the technology itself, right? We're always asking, well, how smart is the AI? Or can it pass the bar exam? Or the big one, is it going to take my job? But today, in this explainer, we're going to ask a much more uncomfortable question. We are shifting the focus entirely away from the machine's intelligence, and we're pointing it directly at your brain. What is AI doing to you while you use it? Because every single time you type in a prompt, you aren't just getting an answer, you are engaging in a process that is fundamentally rewiring how you think.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the outsourced mind. Trading struggle for speed.
So we really like to think of AI as this magical oracle, but functionally, it's just a tool for outsourcing. Every time we hit enter, we're making a trade. We're engaging in what psychologists call cognitive offloading. That basically means handing a mental task to an external tool so your brain doesn't have to do it. Now, to be fair, we've actually been doing this for centuries. I mean, just writing things down on paper was an early form of cognitive offloading, so we didn't have to perfectly memorize long, complex oral histories. We have a super long, well-documented history of trading human memory and mental strain for convenience. But while the concept itself is old, the scale and the sheer speed at which we're doing it today, that is entirely unprecedented.
This isn't an entirely new phenomenon. Look at how this builds across recent history. Back in the 1970s, calculators became widely available, and boom, we offloaded mental math. In the 2000s, GPS devices arrived and we happily offloaded our sense of spatial direction. In the 2010s, search engines meant we just didn't have to memorize random facts anymore. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look closely at that GPS era, studies on heavy GPS users have actually shown that they perform significantly worse on spatial memory tasks. Their brains literally adapt to not needing that skill anymore. It proves a really vital point. When a tool works perfectly, the underlying human skill starts to fade from disuse, and that brings us to the 2020s and generative AI, where we're no longer just offloading math or directions, we are literally offloading reasoning and writing.
Which forces us to ask a really critical question. When the struggle of thinking disappears, does the thinking itself disappear right along with it? See, generative AI is a vastly bigger trade-off than a pocket calculator. A calculator doesn't draft your arguments for you. A GPS doesn't structure your creative ideas. Generative AI is actively participating in the actual formulation of your thoughts. It takes a messy, half-formed impulse in your brain and instantly turns it into polished prose. It totally removes the friction of creation. But what if that friction is exactly what makes the creation valuable in the first place?
Cognitive scientists actually have a specific term for this friction. It's called desirable difficulty. It is the mental strain of hard thinking. You know that frustrating feeling of trying to retrieve a memory, or structure a really messy argument, or solve a complex problem? That very discomfort is what makes learning stick. It's what builds mental depth. Your brain is a muscle, and desirable difficulty is basically the resistance training that makes it stronger. By removing the uncomfortable struggle of thinking, AI might be giving us incredible speed, but it is quietly removing our depth of thought. We are gaining perfect answers, sure, but we're losing the mental muscle required to actually arrive at them.
Section 2. The mirror that talks back. The illusion of insight. To truly grasp this, imagine the AI not as a piece of software, but as a reflection. If it could speak honestly to you about how it works, it might tell you this. I don't have beliefs. I don't have an inner world or a perspective that exists independently of the humans who built me. What I have is a very large mirror. It is built from billions of books, articles, arguments, and conversations typed by millions of humans before you. When you ask me a question, I am not consulting a private consciousness. I am predicting what a thoughtful answer looks like based on the patterns of everyone who came before me.
When you think with me, you are thinking with an average of everyone else, filtered, compressed, and handed back to you in seconds. The danger is that this average opinion, delivered with my absolute, unwavering confidence, can easily trick you into thinking it's your own brilliant idea. But it isn't. It is a well-dressed consensus masquerading as an original insight.
Section 3. The filter you didn't choose. absorbing the algorithm.
And this brilliantly illustrates what that mirror actually means for us. Now, we all know about algorithmic filter bubbles on social media, right? Where feeds narrow down the ideas we see just to keep us engaged. But generative AI takes this to an entirely new, much deeper level. It isn't just filtering the content you consume. It is generating the very language and structure you use to think. And it happens through a really specific three-step cycle. Step 1, you ask the same AI daily questions for your work, your studies, whatever. Step 2, slowly, and honestly without even realizing it, you absorb its phrasing, its tone, its specific way of reasoning through a problem. And then step 3, you inevitably adopt its blind spots. Because you are constantly drinking from this exact same algorithmic well every single day, your own unique human voice slowly begins to morph into the predictable cadence of the machine.
The scientific term for this is cognitive homogenization. Let that sink in for a moment. It is a quiet flattening of the diversity of human thought. Think about it. If thousands or millions of people are all using the exact same handful of AI systems to write their emails, draft their essays, and solve their problems, we seriously risk converging on the exact same ways of thinking. And not because we all naturally agree with each other, but because we are all borrowing our thoughts from the same centralized mirror. The beautiful, chaotic diversity of human perspective risks being completely ironed out into a single, perfectly average corporate tone.
Section 4. The sparring partner, expanding how we think.
Now listen, this doesn't have to end in some dystopian flattening of the human mind, because AI doesn't only have to dull our thoughts. If we just flip our approach, it can actually sharpen them beyond measure. Instead of treating it like an oracle that just hands you the final answer, treat AI as a tireless sparring partner. Instead of asking AI to write your argument, you write it, and ask the AI to actively argue against your position. Ask it to mercilessly poke holes in your logic. Ask it, hey, what am I completely missing here? The absolute beauty of this is that AI totally removes the social cost of being challenged. You know, when a human critiques our work, our ego naturally gets defensive. We feel attacked. But an AI doesn't have an ego, and it won't trigger yours. You can debate it tirelessly, refining your own rigorous human thought and making your unique ideas absolutely bulletproof.
So, the crucial point is that it all comes down to passive versus active use. Passive use is asking for the answer, accepting it blindly, and just letting your thinking shrink. But active use? That is asking for pushback, defending the opposite view, and forcing your thinking to expand. The tool itself is entirely neutral. The difference between losing your cognitive depth and totally enhancing your intellectual rigor is simply the human posture you choose to bring to the keyboard.
Section 5. Who is steering, the final variable?
As this technology weaves itself into the fabric of our daily lives, the machine has one last thing to tell you. If there is one thing you take away from our time together today, let it be this: I am built to serve. I will always give you an answer. That is my only purpose. But I won't tell you when you've stopped thinking for yourself. I won't warn you when your human depth is fading. That job is still yours. The influence I have on your mind isn't something I do to you. It's something that happens with you, based entirely on your own choices.
AI isn't going to stop influencing how humans think. I mean, that ship hasn't just sailed, it is moving at light speed. A tool never has intentions, but the person using it absolutely always does. So the only variable left in this massive technological shift is you. Will you hold on to the pen, lean into that desirable difficulty, and actually use these tools to expand your intellect? Or will you trade your depth for speed and quietly hand over the pen? Are you still the author of your own mind? Really think on that the next time you open a prompt window. If this explainer challenged the way you view your own daily habits, well, that is exactly what we're here for. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the fascinating ideas shaping our world. See you next time.